Business size and sector. In this presentation, we're going to look at the different ways you can categorise business sizes and the sectors that businesses operate in. And by the end of this presentation, you should be able to identify and assess the different sizes and sectors of business organisations. To start with, we've got a little starter. You need to find yourself a partner or a three, get yourself a piece of paper and a pen, and get ready for a little game that we're going to play, where you're going to compete against each other. Hopefully you've now got your pen, your piece of paper, and you're all sorted. If not, pause the video, because we're going to move on now. So, your starter. I want you to try and rank, going from the largest to the smallest, who is the biggest organisation from these 6 organisations. So you should have a list with 1 to 6 on there. So your largest company at the top, down to your smallest company at the bottom. And I'm going to get you now to discuss it with your partner, and then agree as a team and write your list down. You may want to pause the video now, before we look at the answers that you've got. Okay, I'm assuming you've all got answers in your team. Hopefully in your class you can now go and share them with each other so you can find out who's put which company at the largest and smallest. I'm guessing that most people have got number 1 as Google. I'll go as far as saying that most people have said Tesco is number 2. I'll go as far as suggesting that most people have probably said either JCB or Barclays is number 3. Let's assume they've gone JCB. Probably said Barclays is number 4. Marks and Spencer's number 5. And Vodafone number 6. But actually, why have you said that? Why have you worked at that size? I'm not saying that's right or wrong. Why have you made that decision to categorise those companies based on the measure you've used? How? What measure have you used? What have you done to get there? Now, I'm guessing you've gone and said something like, because I've got this in the classroom with my students, Google's the most recognised. That's very true. But is that the best measure of size? How do we measure size? Well, let's have a look. Size is very much dependent on how we choose to measure it. So, in essence, we can actually measure the size of a company in any method we like. The most common ones that are used are number of employees, the number of locations, the amount of profit made, and market share. So basically, how many employees has an organisation got? How many locations does an organisation operate in? How much profit has an organisation made? Or what percentage share of the market has an organisation got? Now obviously that's easier to do when the organisation is in the same market. So like Tesco, Asda, Morrisons and Sainsbury's. It's much more difficult when I was asking you to compare organisations like Google against Tesco who operate in different markets. And that's why we're typically going to use the measure that the exam board likes to use, number of employees. So how do we get size categorisations out of number of employees? Well, let's take a look. A business size, which is called micro, has up to 9 employees. So it has between 1 and 9 employees. So if you've got a business that's got between 1 and 9 employees, then that's a micro business. Typically in your high street, the small high streets in your local area, the small businesses you see with micro. A small business is one that has between 10 and 49 employees. So these tend to be organisations that operate, again, in your local area, but they may be a shop that runs on behalf of a large organisation, so a subset, like, I don't know, WH Smith in your area, for example. Your local WH Smith shop may be a small business size. Of course, it belongs to a large business organisation, however. Then you've got medium size. So you've got organisations that employ between 50 and 249 employees. So these organisations are starting to get a bit bigger now. These are the ones, probably like your school, where you probably employ around 100, 125 people at least who work in your school. And then you've got large organisations. These are the ones that employ more than 250 employees. Now the problem there is that I've shown you on the first slide all examples of organisations that have got at least more than 250 employees. You know that for a fact. You know, I think you probably worked that one out. So we've got to try and categorise them in size, but they're all large. So what we need to do is do a bit of research. And this is where you're going to do something else now for me. I want you to go back to that list that we used at the start. But rather than using the ranking that you used originally, I want you to try and categorise it by the number of employees. So you're going to have to do a bit of research. You're going to have to probably go onto the internet and search and find out the exact number of employees and write it down, and then re-rank the order, and see how close you were to the right answer, and see which company or which organisation you had probably listed as number 1 who actually doesn't rank very highly, and maybe try and think of some reasons why that organisation isn't at the top of that list. Why will Google not have as many employees as some of the other organisations mentioned? I'll let you do that. You might want to pause the video now and have a think about that, and then we'll move on to the next task. Okay, hopefully you've worked that out, you've discussed it with your class teacher now, and you've worked out why some of the organisations on that list are not as large as you thought they are, and hopefully you've also learned that some of the organisations we thought were not as big actually are quite big, quite large organisations. Let's move forward a little bit more. Okay, let's try and think of the local area. In your local area, try and list at least 2 different organisations that can be an example of each of the different business sizes. So you want 1 for micro, 1 for small, 1 for medium, and 1 for large. And then when you've done that, try and think of another one and add another one to that list. You may want to pause the video while you complete that part of the activity. Okay, you should now complete that. Check your answer with your class teacher and discuss it with your group. Hope you made a nice on list. Let's try and move on a little bit more and look at something what we call business sectors. Now, different businesses operate in different sectors. Now, I want you to try and think about Tesco selling a packet of crisps. Those of you that know me know I like my crisps. You know I like my hardcore prawn crisps. And that's because I have to give my Seabrook sea salted prawn cocktail crisps. But actually, how have those crisps got on the shelves and how have I managed to purchase them and actually eat them? So we're going to look at how are crisps made. Where do they come from? Well, hopefully you think about the process here. You've got crisps come from potatoes. Potatoes then have to be processed, and as you can see in that example there, they have to be cooked, they have to be peeled, they have to be chopped, they have to be washed, they have to be prepared, and they have to be packaged, and then they're put in a packet and sent off to the shop, and the shop then sells them on to me, and I buy them and take them home to eat them. Now the potatoes come out of the ground. Farmer. Now because they extract raw materials from the ground, that's the primary sector. So these are the people that get the raw materials from the ground. Now the raw materials that have been extracted from the ground are then processed. Now processing them is what's known as a secondary sector. So this is the process where you actually turn the potato into a chip. You actually peel it, you wash it, you cut it, you cook it, you pack it. All that is a secondary sector. So you think about it logically, Seabrook as a company are very much in the secondary sector because they do all that processing. And of course the farmer is very much in the primary sector. And Tesco, who sell that packet of crisps to me, are in the tertiary sector. The tertiary sector offers a service. They sell products to us from a service sector point of view. Now, hopefully, if I ask you now to think about the whole process, which one of the stages will probably charge the highest price? I'm hoping you're thinking the tertiary sector. You will pay the highest price at the end of the process. And if you think about going back through it, those potatoes that make up 1 bag of crisps may be sold by the farmer to Seabrook for, let's say, 5 pence. Seabrook then do their processing, their manufacturing process, and they will sell it on maybe for Tesco for 25 pence. So you've got 5p, 25p. And of course, Tesco sell it on to us for, let's say, 65p for a packet of crisps. And of course, each stage there, you see that more profit is being made by every producer. The farmer gets the least amount of profit, Seabrook gets the second amount of profit, and Tesco make the most profit. And that is because the tertiary sector is deemed to be the most profitable process. And you're buying the finished article. And that's known as adding value. Now, adding value is where at each of the different stages, the item becomes more valuable. What I would do is think about what's happening at each of the different stages. What's happening to the price that the product is being sold for. And then I want you to do a little bit of research for me. I want you to go away and try and think about which is the largest sector in the UK today and which one's the smallest. And then also try and see how that's changed in time. Which one used to be the largest, which was the smallest? And can you think of any reasons why we've had this change? And also, who is the world's largest primary and secondary producer at the moment in the world? Who's replaced our primary sector? And I think you should answer those questions, jot the thoughts down and discuss them with your class teacher, who will run through them with you. Okay, try and think of some examples of businesses in the local area for each of the different sectors. You should also see if you can get some data to show the different trends for the sectors over the last 50 years. You make a comment about how the trends have changed. Thank you for joining me with this presentation. You should now have a better understanding of the topic area we just looked at. Don't forget to follow me on Twitter, it's @BeeBusinessBee, and click the subscribe button to subscribe to my YouTube channel. Also, don't forget to visit my website, BeeBusinessBee.co.uk, and add it to your favourites. Lots of free business resources and quizzes to help you with your business studies. Simply go to my website, create your free Business Bee account, and then you can access all my quizzes, take some of the little tests, get your score sent straight to your inbox with a lovely BeeBusinessBee certificate. And don't forget to view some of my other videos and share them with your friends.